I'm leigh-chantelle. I'd like to welcome you here today. I'd like to thank all past, present and future landowners as well. And I'd like to welcome from left to right, got Lee Coates from Cruelty Free Super, Alejandro Sancino from Urbane Restaurant, Billy Simmons from Prana On, and Brad from Farm Animal Rescue that's in Dayborough. Tonight we're helping to raise much needed funds for Brad's Animal Sanctuary that's about 45 minutes from Brisbane.
Almost exactly, yes.
Oh, there you go, good. And so I hope you enjoy tonight, and if you can ever help out at the sanctuary in any way, monetarily, in person, or just to spread the word, that would be really appreciated. Hope you like the pizza we had tonight. It was from Seoul. You can find them in the Valley, in Fortitude Valley. And Georgie from Addiction Food has given us the great double or triple chocolate brownies, as well as the truffles. So they're some of my favourites. And I'd like to thank Elle for helping out when we needed it before, so I really appreciate that. And so tonight, feel free to take photos, feel free to share about the event on social media. Cruelty Free Super started primarily on social media, and that's how we promoted ourselves for the past 5 years. Please use hashtag Cruelty Free Super for anything, and you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and Google+. So as I mentioned, it's Cruelty Free Super and they're sponsoring or presenting this today. So no one's getting paid for being here and giving their time for speaking, and you didn't have to pay to come to the event either. So if you appreciate what's happened here and for any more gratitude, please send it over to Farm Animal Rescue on your way out. And we're filming the videos today, so I'll put that on our YouTube channel next week sometime. And if you have friends in Sydney or Melbourne, we're actually going there as well. So tomorrow we'll be in Melbourne and the next day we'll be in Sydney. We've got about 100 people in Melbourne, so I don't really need to promote that one. But if you have friends in Sydney, please let them know, because we've only got a few people there. And so I'd just like to point out that we've got an all-boy crew today, and someone mentioned online that we don't have that many males within the movement, but we have a lot of male people speaking. So I thought it was a good chance to just speak about that. And we did have another female person who was going to speak, and she pulled out. And so Alejandro came in at the last minute to help out with that, so I appreciate that. And but we are trying to get more females involved, and a lot of females don't really like to talk about what they're doing as much as some of the guys do. Completely generalising. So I thought I'd just like to mention, because of that, we've sort of got a really business-focused panel today. So hope you appreciate that. And if you wanted to learn anything about vegan businesses or ethical businesses, this is a really great panel to learn from. And everyone's going to speak for 15 minutes each. I'm going to time you, and Alejandro and I will do a bit more of a Q&A as well. And then at the end, we're going to open to you to ask questions of the panel. So I hope you've got some really good questions, but I've got quite a few to ask them also. And what we're doing with the Cruelty Free Super Tour, so Brisbane, Melbourne and Sydney, is raising awareness to ethical issues and how different things can link to your ethics. So for example, money, I don't know if you know that money can be linked to ethics, but you can find out about that tonight when Lee speaks. If you want to know how we can link to more people who aren't vegan and to really inspire people to try vegan things even if they're not vegan, we're going to speak to Alejandro about that and his successes with a non-vegan restaurant that has a hell of a lot of vegan options, and just how he's achieved some things with that. And then Billy has a really amazing protein brand called Prana On that I know quite a few of you here are big fans of. And he's going to talk about how he never let go of his ethics and his core values and what he believes in, and he's had success with that with his plant-based protein. And then we've got Brad, and I'm sure a lot of you know people who want to have an animal sanctuary. So many people, they'd love to do that, quit their job and have an animal sanctuary. And Brad's actually going to tell you how much work's involved with that and what he's had to give up and the things he's put or had to put aside to focus on animals who actually live a long life in some cases after they're rescued. So we're going to find a lot about how he uses his ethics to educate other people and help them meet animals in real life. So my background is I've run a website called vivalavegan.net for 10 years. We just celebrated our 10th year. And I've been a vegan for 20 years in January. And a lot has changed in that time. And I've learned a lot, and I'm still learning. And I encourage all of us, and every one of us, to always learn something new. And just because we're at a certain place and we think that's all we need to know, all we need to do, just really open your minds to learning more, because there's always more. And in relation to veganism, I link that to all the different things that veganism relates to or can relate to. For me, it's not just about animal rights and animal ethics. It also includes feminism, environmentalism, human rights and ethics, environmental issues, and so many more issues. And the more that I find out about one thing, the more I learn about other things. And just keep open to those things. So I've done a lot of books and a lot of content on my website, and I originally started that because there just wasn't anything around like that. And 20 years ago, there wasn't anything. And when I say that to people, they're really shocked because there's a plethora of vegan blogs nowadays. And one of the things I've been working on is a vegan athletes book, and that's my latest book that I've just released. And Billy is one of the athletes who is in that. And that leads me. Do you want to get ready for your presentation?
I'm ready.
And so I met Billy quite a few years ago through one of our friends, Reese, who has his own vegan business called Pure Veda, and he introduced us because he was helping me trying to find people to talk at my vegan festival that I held in Brisbane 2010, 2011, and Billy ended up speaking for the Green Earth Day in 2011, and he talked about plant protein and how to get big muscles. Lots of people ask him about that all the time. So we might leave those sort of things to the Q&A at the end, because I'm sure a lot of you want to know that. And Billy, over the years that I've known him, he said to me quite early on about his protein powder, and I remember when he gave Reese and I a sample and just mixed it with water, and it was really good. And not many proteins taste good just with water. So we were like, this is good, maybe he's onto something, this Billy kid. And yeah, a few years later, the protein powder is doing really well, and he's into various things as well. And Billy wanted to be involved with the tour so that he could help educate and inspire other vegan businesses and vegan business owners in particular, and how they can succeed and live the life they dream by choosing the right path for them. And he has experience in conscious capitalism, and he wants to share about how his idea that, like I said, just he was giving us some samples with water, and it's transformed into an international multi-million dollar business that is ethically driven, cruelty-free, eco-friendly, and an employer of choice. And he's going to share his insights into the importance of building the right team for growth, making vegan products and services succeed in a mainstream market, which is very, very important. I'm just going to tell you a bit about Billy. He's a former Mr. Universe natural bodybuilding champion, powerlifter, martial artist, entrepreneur, and vegan spokesperson. His past business and professional experience is extremely diverse, ranging from an executive in corporate banking to stunt fighting, playing Batman at Warner Brothers Movie World. Now he is the director of Eco Superfoods, which is the company behind leading nutrition brands Prana On and Kaya Health. Please welcome Billy Simmons to the stage. What is the wireless one?
Oh, that's okay. It's the speaker on, Carol. Hey everyone, can you hear me okay? Yeah, cool. Who's vegan in the room, just out of curiosity? Oh, cool, that's really good. For those that aren't, I've been on that journey too, so it's no judgment. I don't really need to say much now because you've kind of just said everything for me. I've got no new material, that's everything. So I'm in 6 capital cities in the next, in as many days this week, so you'll have to forgive me if I'm now a little bit going to a food coma after eating pizza, and a bit jet lagged. But as leigh-chantelle mentioned, the brand that I started was a labour of love a few years ago called Prana On. It's now, we've got a wide range of products. I've always had a vision to grow the range beyond what I originally started with. It's now probably one of the best-selling brands in the country. In some cases, it outsells every other brand combined, which is amazing because it is all vegan-based. I source all the ingredients right back to the origin. We manufacture using 100% renewable energy. I control that process as well, so I can go through a little bit more about that. But as leigh-chantelle mentioned, I've been vegan now for like 5 or 6 years. I was veggie before that for like 10. I didn't really know the difference. I just decided that I didn't want to eat meat anymore when I was a teenager, and got my head around that over as many years, a couple of years, and got a good solid decade being a veggie. And then when I won Miss Universe, so I'm not a bodybuilder anymore. You know, I look very different when I'm a bodybuilder than what I do now. But I have more fun now than when I was a bodybuilder because I can do a lot of other things. So I learnt about veganism, and I thought I was making ethical choices regarding eggs and dairy and things like that, and turns out I wasn't. So actually the journey for me started, interestingly enough, becoming veggie at this very place here. That's a health food store in Southport on the Gold Coast, called Go Vita, and in fact that's the same manager that this is going to make me seem old, 20 years ago I used to work with. So something was different about all the people I worked with. They had this energy about them, they had really blue eyes, and just, you know, I just thought, wow, what's the common denominator? And the fact was that they were all vegan or vegetarian, and so I thought there's something in that, and against my parents' wishes I decided to give that a go. And it took me a couple of years. I was probably eating vegetarian for the most part of the day, but at dinner I was just eating whatever was in front of me. But for those meals that I could eat, I was eating veggie. And so, funny enough, full circle of life, 20 years later, we are the preeminent brand in that store. We're the biggest seller, you know, by dollar value out of there, which is pretty incredible. That's just another supplement store. My vision with the brand wasn't to sell a vegan brand to vegans. Not about that. I see this as a gateway or a transitional opportunity for the mainstream out there, that if they really enjoy what the brand espouses, the products we've got, and they catch on to it, then perhaps they'll make better choices, kinder choices, and more ethical choices in other areas of their life. So if they go, wow, you know, vegan's really positive, I'm not losing out, then, you know, how else can I start to sort of make better choices? And that's always been the philosophy behind the brand. So when I started, the reason I kind of did was out of necessity, which is like a lot of dreams. You know, I was kind of a bit annoyed that all the mainstream people are having whey proteins and all this sort of stuff. They got all the fun stuff. They got cookies and cream, and they got like all these mad flavors and the sort of stuff that I was having, because I was active in the fitness community and there's a lot of supplements and things like that. I thought, why isn't there a good vegan option? Why do we just get plain, boring old vanilla and chocolate, you know? And so that was the reason. I thought, this sucks. It was dirty, gritty, and I thought there's got to be a better way. And these products aren't giving people a very good opportunity to consider going vegan. They're never going to take on and adopt this message if everything sucks. So I set out to do that. And an example of that, like the latest flavor we did in the protein was Himalayan salted caramel. I mean, that's selling in tons. We are doing literally tons of that stuff every month, which is incredible. So, you know, that's the thing. We decided to make it fun, keeping it natural, keeping it, you know, organic, natural, and artificial flavors and colors free. So that's really exciting because it means the mainstream's catching on to what we're doing. So, you know, the main thing for me though was having a purpose that was and a vision that was aligned with who I really am. So I've had a go at different businesses. I've had a pretty varied past when it comes to my career. and I've always followed my passion. I've worked as a stunt fighter and performer, and that was actually paving the way for me to sort of get into business. But the main thing was to find something that I was really passionate about and in the community that I was in. So I was in the fitness community, so it makes sense for me to be a part of that and offer something and solution-wise to it. So the other thing for me was getting a team. So you can't do everything yourself. So I started by myself, but very quickly for me it was really important to get the right team and get the right minds together. Together everyone achieves more. So I'd rather have a smaller slice of a bigger pie, so to speak. So that's one of my business partners, George. That was 2011, so that's when the journey started in business. Everyone thinks, oh, it's an overnight success, but before we got the product to market, there was about 3 years of just trying to get it to that stage. I was his banker, so I knew the guy inside and out and trusted him. So we're a vegan company run by vegans, which is pretty unique. We only produce vegan products. In the supplement space, we are the only ones that are vegan, run by vegans. We donate to animal causes, and Animals Australia. Right, you get the checks from the talks I do at the schools. So, it's really important for us to give back in different ways. That's what I was talking about before, conscious capitalism. So, giving back to a team. I had staff before I quit my job. I was more about trying to build a business and build a brand and the awareness of it before I went out and started taking money for myself. I'm really fortunate to have a great team as well, so both business partners and my staff as well. So again, we employ vegans. It's not a must for the business, but they naturally gravitate towards what we're doing, and it helps us spread the word, and it provides that authenticity when we're in the market and people say, well, are you vegan? They always test it out. You're promoting that message. They want to know, well, are you? So our staff can confidently say that. So, and in the cases they're not, they're generally on that journey themselves. And we're pretty patient with that. We don't, discriminate and say you can't work for us. But one thing's interesting, we don't employ people generally from inside the industry. We employ people from outside, because you can't teach people to be a good person or have integrity, but you can teach them about what we do. So we tend to employ outside of the industry. The big thing for us was to promote the vegan message in the mainstream. So that for us is really exciting, and there's massive growth in that area. In America, you've got companies like Beyond Meat, and you've got Hampton Creek and the egg company. I can't think of that. Which one is that?
Hampton Creek.
That is Hampton Creek. Yeah. So the future is in vegan business to the mainstream. So you've got Bill Gates investing in that business. So before we used to be just people that were fringe and didn't really have much to offer. Now actually the market's moving towards vegan business, and for whatever reason, environmental, ethical, health reasons. But the more that we can align ourselves with our passion, offer service or offer a product, offer a solution that's really driven by a mission, and broadcast that and have it appeal to the mainstream, the more likely we are to succeed. So if we're just vegans offering services to other vegans, that's cool, but let's think about offering something to the mainstream community that needs to hear this message. So the vision and purpose for me was always to offer a solution to a community that really needed it. So in the fitness community, everyone's living in chicken and beef and whey proteins and all this sort of stuff. So they kind of needed a viable option. So that's what I present. So I'm out there speaking about vegan nutrition in fitness. I was just at the FitX competition, the largest fitness show in Australia on the weekend, main stage speaking to a lot of people. So a few years ago that wouldn't have been allowed. They just chased me out of there. But now they want to hear what I've got to say, prime time, and our brand was the busiest brand there. So I just mentioned before that I didn't really take any money out of the business. I still don't take a lot. I just reinvest it into the business. So for me, that's what it's about. And I think that comes through with my staff, and I've got a very down-to-earth attitude about that. I source all the ingredients myself. That's in an organic farm for one of the flavours we're doing. Some people couldn't guess that when I posted on social media. I said, guess this fruit, that's actually a guava. So you might have seen that. So, but that's really important. So that authenticity that I've got about wanting to know where everything comes from and how it's made and how it goes into the product, that again is really unique in the market. A lot of times in the supplement industry, they don't want you to look at the label, or if you do, they don't want you asking questions. So It's really important for us to know that. We were the busiest stand at the Fitness Expo on the weekend by far, which is super exciting. So again, a vegan brand that, we promote unashamedly that message, but we do it in such a way that it's non-threatening, it's inclusive, and we make it fun and exciting, and it's by far resonating with the market. We have an amazing team. I've got about 50 staff now, so it's a really big team, and I'm really proud of everyone that's a part of it. So we've got someone here who's on the team now. So yeah, it's really exciting to be able to have a platform to share that message with everybody, and to have pride of place in a lot of the retail outlets that we work with as well. Again, a few years ago that wasn't an option, but I didn't want to be that vegan brand that was just shoved in the corner. I had a vision to say, you know what, I'm going to make this the mainstream. I'm going to make it that everyone can be a part of it. With in Sydney, Gold's Gym Bondi Beach is opening up. So Gold's Gym is the biggest name in fitness in the world, and they're opening in probably the most popular beach in the world, Bondi Beach, and the only brand of supplements they're stocking is Prana On. So that's incredible. For a few years ago, when I was selling protein out the back of my car, literally, and trying to get people to try it, to now having the flagship place at such an iconic brand and position is just incredible. So the power of a vision and just having a greater purpose than beyond yourself. And for us, the business is built on mutuality. So it's a good deal for consumers, it's a good deal for our business partners, and it's a good deal for us. If someone out of that equation loses, it usually doesn't work. So it's always been a focus for us to say we need to be trying to keep our dream alive, at the same time being fair to everyone else who's involved in that dream and making sure that it works for them as well. So how am I doing? 15 minutes? You've got just about 2 minutes. Okay, cool. So leigh-chantelle thought one of the things everyone wants to know is where do I get my protein? So very quickly. So there's plenty of foods with protein. They've all got amino acids. Some of them have got more, some of them have got less, but there's plenty of foods we can eat to get protein. In the strength game, in bodybuilding, so I've won the Mr. Universe, I've set world records, I've been powerlifting, I compete in martial arts, I do all these things, and it's all because I do eat a high protein vegan diet. So I'm not raw till 4, I'm not 80-10-10 or fruitarian or whatever. I still eat a bodybuilding type diet to give me the fuel I need to do what I want to do, but I get it from plants. So you can do that too. So just because you're anti-meat doesn't mean you need to be anti-protein. People's bodies, based on the hereditary and their genetic predispositions, they will process foods a little bit different to others. So for me that works. Other people, if they're cycling 100 kilometres a day, they probably could eat fruit all day and that's going to work for them, but that doesn't work for me. So these are the foods I eat. And if we look at the makeup of what I eat versus what other people eat, we see that even the humble black bean kicks ass as far as its nutrient content and protein content. So there is an absolute fallacy out there that you've got to eat meat to get protein. You can eat plant foods. We're not even a herbivore, carnivore. We are that end of the scale, so we're not actually meant to eat it. So much so that last year that came out. So what we thought we needed to eat for muscles is in fact killing us. It's killing the earth, unfortunately. But if we keep making better choices and educating and spreading a positive message, we'll change that. We can all afford to eat vegan. And in fact, what price do you put on your health as well? We can also be unhealthy vegans. Pizza, brownies, that's cool once in a while. But at the end of the day, the healthiest foods for us are also the cheapest. And if you put a price on your health, for a high price, then you can afford to eat vegan. And the sort of foods that I eat, I don't go without. So that's kind of a typical meal for me. So yeah, exactly. So you don't miss out eating healthy, and that's a well-rounded bodybuilding type meal. So hopefully that answers the question about where I get my protein. That's where I get it, from foods like that. So thank you very much, everyone.
So Alejandro and I are going to do something a little bit different because he's a bit shy. So we're going to do a little bit of a Q&A. So it's just going to be pretty casual. And do you want to join me already, or do you want to do the intro? I just want to share when I first met Alejandro actually, because I was travelling overseas and my mum sent me an email and she said, do you know about this guy? His name's Alejandro. He works at a restaurant, a high-end restaurant in the city in Brisbane. And I said, no, I don't know about this person. Why don't I know about this person, this vegan in Brisbane? And so I did some very good stealth / stalking online to find out your personal email. And I sent him an email and said, hey, I want to do an interview with you. Let's meet up and we'll do an interview. I'd love to hear about your story with why you became vegan and all that. So Alejandro said, how did you find my email first? And then, yeah, we got together at your restaurant, at Urbane Restaurant, and we did a video which you can find on my vivalavegan.net website or vivalavegan.net YouTube channel. And at the time, Alejandro was only a really new vegan, what, 1 year maybe?
Yeah.
1 year?
Not even that, yeah.
Yeah, and had you just got your tattoo? Did you just get that? I think you just got your tattoo,
Yeah.
and he'd just been employed maybe, how many months?
Yeah, 6 months.
Yeah, at, in Urbane, and he'd been in many other places first. So, I'm going to read out your bio first. So, for the last 14 years, Argentinian-born Alejandro Sancino has captured others with his dynamic and internationally trained palate. He has worldwide experience, including the world's 4th ranked restaurant, Margarit's in Spain. In 2008, he was awarded Young Chef of the Year in the UK during his tenure in the Bulgari Hotels Tokyo. The restaurant was awarded 1 Michelin star, which is pretty impressive. And since his arrival in Australia, he has put all his experience and natural talent to excellent use. He's now the co-owner and executive chef for Urbane Restaurant and the Euro. So he just started as head chef, now he's also co-owner. Alejandro was honoured by the Australian Gourmet Traveller Restaurant Awards for Best New Talent, in addition to being named Chef of the Year by Good Food Guide in 2013 and 14, and whilst retaining both 2 hats for Urbane and 1 hat for the Euro. So, Alejandro, what does a hat mean? What's that?
Hats?
What's a 2 hat mean for
The
Urbane?
hats are the awards you get for restaurants. You can go 1 to 3. Sadly, we have only 2. We're close to have the 3rd, but yeah.
So 3 is the best?
Yes, 3 is the best.
Okay.
But we are basically in Brisbane, we're on the, let's say, top 3 restaurants. Yeah.
And I had a birthday a few years ago at the Vegan Digger station, so we'll get into some of the changes Alejandro's made in the menu. But there's quite a few people actually in the room who came to my birthday that year, and it was very impressive food. And he made some of my favourite things. So he knows I like tempeh and quinoa and was it on chocolate or something probably. So we had a really good menu that night. And we still talk about it, actually, don't we, Carol? And so, tell me about your journey. You've been in all these great places overseas. One, why did you decide to come to Australia?
Okay, I basically started my career when I was 15. I started doing, cooking in a normal restaurant around the corner from my house, and I started to study, and then I studied this school that they offer a scholarship for the best marks. And I remember back then my mom said, okay, I'm paying this, but obviously you really have to take it seriously. And I said, yeah, no problem. So 2 years later, when I finished high school, I was 17, I got the scholarship. I flew to France, I was 3 months there, and then Argentina was in a bit of a crisis, so I decided to go to England and then to Mexico, then Spain, then back to UK, then Tokyo. So I've been traveling for a while. So after 10 years of traveling all around the world, I decided, okay, I need to choose a place to basically settle down. And I think Australia was it's been the right choice, definitely. And before leaving Japan, I seen this video about vegans, and I used to think, why they do that to themselves? You know, like why do you do that to yourself? I'm a chef, you know, why? Like why don't you eat cheese? Why don't you meat, bacon? And then I watched this video and I'm like, I never seen this way. You know, I never thought about doing something bad to someone else. I thought, you never connect the dots. And then I watched another video, and then it got to the point that I asked my wife, can you take a minute and watch a couple of videos I seen on the internet and give me your opinion. So I was going back home for a month's holidays before coming to Australia, and we decided to take a month to basically learn more about why not going vegan. So I had an excuse, at least. And I didn't find anything. So I was focused on finding a reason why not going vegan, basically. I thought like, okay, I've been working in the best restaurants in the world. It won't make sense for me to waste all that knowledge. I was very good, and I'm still very good, cooking meat, fish, and etc., etc. So it got to the point I put like, okay, reason why going vegan, reason why not going vegan. And basically all the reasons that to go vegan made more sense, and the reasons why not going vegan were more selfish, wasting my knowledge on, cooking meat and etc. Or just the pleasure of having meat, or probably ruin my career because I've been on this path on very good restaurants always, and probably I would waste all my career basically. And then when I came to Australia, I got a job here in Brisbane, and I didn't want to say I was vegan because I just became vegan a month ago. So I got a job, and then a month later I told them, look, I'm actually trying to be vegan. And they said, okay, so look, I would like to do a vegan dinner and see how, what's the response. I don't know how to cook vegan food, but I will figure out. And I still got a very good palate. I still cook everything. So they said, yeah, look, but Brisbane is not the right place to do this. And, okay, we do one. If it doesn't work, I don't do it anymore. So it was fully booked within the first 2 days.
Yeah.
So then, now we always have a vegan menu on Urbane. So yeah, and it's been really good. The whole kitchen, I veganize many dishes, even if they are not vegan. They use less animal products. I don't know if that's clear, but let's say instead of using butter, oil, instead of using cream, something else, instead of using purees based on, I don't know, milk or cream, just nuts, seeds, and slowly, and as a business owner, I can see how much we spend on dairy. I get to see all the numbers, and I'm impressed how much we reduce. So it's a small change, but within what I can do is, I think it's a big change.
So how, if someone works at a non-vegan restaurant, or they come into a non-vegan restaurant, or they want to try and help a non-vegan restaurant have more vegan options, what are some suggestions? Like, what did you do? You said you replaced, say, the butter with oil. What are some other things, like
for example, all our ice creams are vegan. Anyway, like even if you have the normal menu or the vegan menu, all our ice creams are vegan. Then we have. I try to slowly get more vegetarian dishes on the menu. Vegan, all the vegetarian options are vegan. So for me, it's easier. And the vegetarian is not gonna complain that there is no cheese, or I can substitute with something else. But also, what is important is that you make other people to, you inspire other people. And then I have 2 guys in the kitchen who become vegetarian now. I'm like, that's good, and because they obviously ask me why, or and I try to put a lot of care and attention when we do a vegan menu, so that way they see it as probably, and I obviously have to work harder when I do a vegan menu, because still, when people say to me, yeah, I don't know, vegans, maybe some of you think this, meat is gross. Let me tell you, it tastes really good. No offense, but what I'm trying to do is work on, try to get something better than that. Or it's hard, because that's why.
An alternative.
A better alternative. Let's say cheese, for example. As nice as the cheese, for example, on the pizza was, normal cheese still tastes better. And I'm realistic, but okay. I'm working towards getting things, better.
That leads me to a question about some things you're working on in the future. Alejandro, in case you haven't been to Urbane, it's a high-end restaurant. You might have to save a few pennies before you can go there, but it really is worth the money when you do go there. And he is very high, like we've seen all these accolades that he's got from all over the world. He knows what he's doing, he knows how to cook. And a couple of things I hope I can mention is that Alejandro is working on getting vegan mayonnaise mass produced for Australia. And another thing a few people got to try tonight was a blue cheese he's also going to be working on. So can you tell us about that? Why do we need mayonnaise and blue cheese in Australia, the vegan versions?
Mayonnaise, there are a few mayonnaise on the market at the moment. The ones I had were not really good, so I thought it's not hard. We were doing at one point mayonnaise in the restaurant vegan, so I thought I can get this done, in a bigger volume. Took me a while to open a company and get things, I'm basically on the very humble beginning, and still, everything takes a lot of time, but having the background I have and knowing what's good and what's not good, I thought I could bring something to the table that is, with my experience, that it could be good not only for vegans but for everyone else. So I got friends who asked me, do you have this vegan mayonnaise? My doctor said I had to reduce my cholesterol, and I've been looking for egg-free mayonnaise, and so and the cheese, hopefully I think it's gonna be good, but it will take a lot of time.
And you were saying you got involved with this tour because you want to show that it's important to make a difference and how it's important to make a difference. And one of the things I love about Alejandro is he is vegan. He works in a non-vegan restaurant. The majority of his customers are non-vegan, don't really care about the vegan stuff. But for that one meal, they're saving lives or not consuming them at least. And he has done some amazing outreach to get to a certain type of person that maybe the vegan movement can't really connect with in a lot of ways. So how, the one thing I know you get asked all the time, are you really vegan if you work in a non-vegan place? Or tell us...
I'm probably the worst vegan in this room. Let's say, no? But I think, when I have a very clear vision of what I want, obviously my dream would be in a vegan restaurant, producing vegan food, but from where I am at the moment, I cannot quit my job now because no one is going to pay the mortgage for me. But basically, I see very clear where I want to go. This is probably the one step to get to that point. On what you said before, I did a vegan dinner, and I remember I did a collaboration dinner with a very good chef from Sydney. He came and we did this vegan dinner together. So now every time I do any special dinner, I go to Sydney or I'm going to India in 6 weeks. I only do vegan. So in the restaurant, okay, I do what I have to do. But if I'm leaving the restaurant or I'm doing any special dinner with another chef, I will do it vegan. So once I had we did this vegan dinner, and on the front of the menu, I said I think a vegan lifestyle is the most, the healthiest, not diet, but lifestyle you can choose, and blah, blah. So I don't remember exactly what it was, but we went at the end and talked to every table, and we stopped in the table. They were cattle ranchers.
Cattle ranchers, yeah.
Or they grow
farmers.
beef. Yeah, good cattle. Yeah, and then you can imagine what I said on the menu. He didn't agree, basically. He gave me a bit of hard time. He said to me like, "What do you know about Australia?" 2 days earlier, my mom used to have cattle and chickens back in Argentina, and I remember when they start to mass produce, like to have what is the name?
Broiler chicken?
No, when you have all the animals all together.
Like a farm,
the farms.
Yeah, a hobby farm?
No.
Factory farm?
Factory farm, yeah, basically. When they brought in the 70s, I don't know when was that. My mom, I remember she said when that started, and then they recommend to get through that path, my mom stopped farming. And so 2 days before I met this guy, I read that 80% of the cattle raised here in Australia, the meat you get on the supermarket, 80% is being from basically factory farm. So what he was saying about, how big is Australia? Do you think we need, to have them all crowded and they have a lot of grass? But it's not it's not what is happening. It's not. I like your story, but you probably have a farm, organic farm, and your cows are walking around, but it's not the normal.
And that sort of leads us into our next speaker, which will be Brad. Everyone give Ali Andrea. One of the things I have an issue with mainstream media or the way veganism is promoted in the media is that they tend to focus on health, diet, weight loss, fitness, and all those things nowadays. A lot of focus doesn't go to our animal friends. A lot of focus doesn't go to ethical issues and a lot of other things like social issues, human rights issues, and stuff like that. And it's very important for people to meet animals. How many people here have actually touched a cow or a chicken, anything like that? So quite a few people really. I know a few vegan friends, some of them are scared of chickens, some of them have never met cows before, and some of them are petrified of the idea of going onto a farm. So I think that it's really, really necessary for people to meet other animals, or even just in general to meet people outside of their own circle or their own world. Because the more that we can meet people, the more we can empathize with people, and the more we can see things through another person's eyes. And there's a lot of things. Alejandro mentioned that there's so many animals that are housed in factory farms and have been born into this world just to die for people to eat them. I don't think that's good enough. And there's a lot of things that can happen. There's a lot of things that we can do to prevent this. And for me, the first step is being vegan. But have you ever thought about what happens to those animals that were raised for food? What happens to some of these animals that luckily don't get killed? What happens to even some of the animals that are in the chicken hatching programs at school? What happens to animals after they've been brought as a pet, but someone realizes, oh, that's a bit too big for my backyard? what happens to all these animals that people love for a short space of time and then don't want to actually commit to loving them for their whole life. This is where someone like Brad comes in, and Brad King is from Farm Animal Rescue. He's president of the Free Range Farmed Animal Sanctuary in Debra, Queensland, which is 45 minutes from Brisbane exactly. And this is where animals are rescued from the commercial food industry and they're given homes of safety, comfort and freedom. The sanctuary focuses on consumer education, providing regular open days that incorporate informative talks about the plight of farmed animals in the commercial food industry. Brad also speaks at public events, universities and at animal protection group events. And he talks about the hidden suffering of the animals exploited for their flesh, for their fur, for their eggs and for their milk. And Brad does a lot to encourage community engagement and community involvement. If you have the chance to volunteer or to get to know some animals, please go and do some volunteer work at Farm Animal Rescue. They have a lot of events where they raise money too. Just had the hoedown, was it on the weekend?
Saturday night.
On Saturday, and they've got many different things like that coming throughout the year, and they have regular open days once a month as well. So make sure you go and check that out. And I'd like to welcome Brad King from Farm Animal Rescue.
Well, thank you, leigh-chantelle, and thank you very much, Lee, for holding this event, for thinking of us and supporting us. I'll have to stand over here. for thinking of us when you're planning the event, and for I'd like to thank you all for your generosity tonight with the donations at the door. We're very, very grateful for all of that. I know leigh-chantelle was interested in going back to the beginning, so I'll talk about that very quickly. I was actually vegetarian for 25 years. I became vegan because I rescued a dog from a puppy mill who was having dreadful night terrors and nightmares, and it freaked me out that an animal did that, which is when I started looking into how the food industry actually works, and immediately I knew that I couldn't support something so incredibly cruel and became vegan. The overriding issue that I had with my whole life experience at that point, though, was that why was I vegetarian for 25 years and nobody ever told me? So it's been my passion ever since then to make sure that nobody else can ever say nobody told me, and so therefore I couldn't make the decision. This happened while I was in the US. For 5 years I ran a table every Saturday night in Miami Beach, where the public would see lovely videos that we like to dole out for people to look at. And then came to Australia specifically to set up a farmed animal sanctuary. And that's because I also became involved with an organisation called Farm Sanctuary in the US, which is, now has 4 sanctuaries across that country. And there was 2 reasons that I did it. The first was that I was really very impressed by the way that they got people to relate to an individual animal and to start to think about seeing animals from that perspective. But the second thing was that there was a video that they put out of a... I knew this wasn't going to work for me. Me and technology, it doesn't work. I did. Yeah, so I saw this video about a cow named Maxine, and what happened with Maxine after she escaped from a live slaughter market in New York City. Now I understand
There we go.
headlines on national news. People's hearts go out to this one individual family, the cruelty that
happens to farm animals is largely hidden, behind the factory farm walls, and people aren't aware of it. When you look at her eyes, everyone wants the best for her once they get to know her, and when people are able to identify with an individual and look her in the eye and see that she's a living, feeling being who has a will to live, then people care.
I've been working here with animal care control for almost 9 years. This one was really astonishing to me. All of a sudden, it dawned on me, this sweet, innocent cow running away from being slaughtered. And I've never even thought about it before, that something is actually being slaughtered. It's my rummy, it's my OSA, and stuff like that. We can eat this for years. I never pictured that face on that, and it hurt. I can't do that. So now, we will work on not even me and my entire family. I'm realizing that this is like the same thing. And for my family, we'll be saving a couple more. Thank you.
The reaction that that woman had to having one experience, after working with cats and dogs for 6 years, of having that single experience that completely changed her, I thought was absolutely revealing, which is why I wanted to get into doing this stuff. So, as I say, came out to Australia specifically to set up the sanctuary, and I'm sure that, as you know, running a sanctuary is all about panning animals and taking photos and uploading them to social media, or it certainly is if you're John Stewart anyway. But there is, of course, a rather more to it than just that. And I thought I'd talk very briefly about just the sort of things that we focus on in order to try and make our organisation as effective as we possibly can. The first thing I've got here is compliance, and we believe this is incredibly important because at the end of the day, you've got to be out there and you've got to have a community that supports you. And we're very, very big on working with the community and bringing the community into the stuff that we're doing. And what being compliant is all about is actually not just bending to some government will, but what compliance means is that you have a group of people running your organisation so that no one person is actually taking people's monies and just doing what they think. But it also means that we're having to report back to government, report back to other agencies to show what we're up to and what we're doing with the funds that we're given. And it's really very important that running an organisation like this, people can see that. Of course, that means that we do a whole load of paperwork, and sometimes Josh the goat helps us out with the lovely Jodie there. And it also means, of course, that we have a whole bunch of members. The way that we've got things set up is that people who sponsor the sanctuary animals are actually the members that we have. But members, of course, are very important because if members decide I'm doing a really awful job, they can literally get rid of me, which is a great way to be because at the end of the day, we want it to be all about the animals. So that's the first thing that I get involved in. Second thing that I get involved in the sanctuary is a whole load of fundraising. When animals come out of the commercial food industry, if that's really what you're about, they are all sick. They are either genetically modified so that they are dying, or they are struggling with excess weight or fragile bones or whatever it is that's being done to them. So if you really want to be serious about looking after these types of animals, you have to be considering their medical situation very, very carefully. It takes a lot of care, takes a lot of vet costs, it also takes a lot of medication. So what we've decided to do with the whole fundraising area though is to make it all very community and make it all lots of fun. And as you can see, we're vegan, there's food involved. So lots of cupcakes and other sorts of things that go on there. Again, we like to take it to the streets. So this is one of the events that we carry out every year, which is our Walk for Farm Animals, which is vegans walking down the streets, handing out flyers, but doing it in a way that's happy and joyful and celebrating, so that people are seeing that actually we're not all, what was it, anorexic and didn't have a sense of humour or whatever it was they said. We're actually out having fun, and there was no more fun event than the one we did last weekend, which is our hoedown in Dayborough, where people were just having an ecstatic amount of fun. So we're big on fun, we're big on community, and we're big on giving you stuff that you can pay for, that actually lets you then carry that out and show people where you stand in terms of care for animals. We're also trying to do as much as we can things like the leaf feeding that we did outside Edinburgh last year, which we'll be continuing again this year. Around 5,000 of these leaflets we handed out to people coming into Mecca, basically saying what you're seeing in here is a bunch of lies, and this is the reality of how animals are treated in the food industry. There is, of course, some animals in the sanctuary, and the next part of it, of course, is the animal care. This is actually moving down into our cattle paddock through the pig barn there. Still having a go at the technology here.
You're doing well.
Leigh-Chantelle mentioned that we do open days, so we actually do those every 2 weeks now. So every second weekend, either on a Saturday or Sunday, we have the open day. And what we do is we take you into a paddock like this with a load of really big, dangerous animals, and we tell you about them and we make you go up and pat them. So as you can see, that's going terribly well. We're keeping our distance a little bit there. But it's an incredibly important part of it, because it's one thing for me to stand here and tell you how they slaughter a cow. It's another thing for you to make me stand in front of Anne-Marie and tell you about all of the suffering that she experienced while she was in the dairy industry, which has left her very, very fragile and in really a very, very poor state. I will mention as well, this lovely lady over here is Mary. The average life expectancy of a cow is 20, and lovely Mary here is actually 20 years old. So she's a beautiful girl. We do, of course, get school groups. Anybody who knows me very well knows that I really don't do kids. So this is always a bit of a struggle for me. But yes, we get lots of school groups in, and of course we change the way that we approach it. But as you can see, the kids are absolutely fascinated by these animals, and especially the pigs. And of course, you know, pigs are just so much of the Australian diet. It's ridiculous when they're such wonderful, intelligent animals. Now, of course, a big part of what we're doing is trying to make animals better. This is Fiona. She came into us about 6 months ago. What's happened to her is she's been scalded by the urine and feces that was in the crate that she was in. And at this point, she's about 2 weeks old. And she is in the kitchen there. We of course did manage to make her better, and here's one of our wonderful carers. A couple of weeks later on, she's improving there. But I was talking about community involvement and volunteers and everything. We actually run the sanctuary in terms of the animal care completely on a voluntary basis. All of the people you see in these photos actually come for usually a month or more and learn how to care for animals and learn about the detail of how these animals live and deal with the effects that the industry's left them. And sometimes they're doing all sorts of species all at once. Yes. Yes, if there's food around, there's always going to be heat. But as we mentioned, we are very much a free-range sanctuary, so we don't believe in the yards and the little paddocks and all that sort of thing. Our guys get to go where they want, which is a huge pain in the ass for our volunteers, but it's great for the animals, of course. Now, I did talk about the medical care and all that sort of thing. This is lovely Rose. We recently had to take Rose's tail off because of problems that she'd had prior to her arriving at the sanctuary. So this is just an early part of procedure while she was being checked over and everything. And of course, sometimes it gets very dismal. This is lovely Billy. Being part of sanctuaries again is, of course, when you've got 50 to 100 animals there, a number of them are going to die every year. Death is never ever nice. So multiple times a year you'll get into the situation where you have to look at this animal and decide, is it better for them to live another day or is it now time? So that's very much a part of the job. And sometimes we just lose them. Poor old Melissa here lasted 4 days. But as I say, we're very, very big on animal care. This is another one of our carers just cuddling a chicken. Because at the end of the day, what we want to do is we want to give these animals all the love and affection that they were never intended to have. And we also like to get them to be good with people, so that when you come to the sanctuary, they're able to relate to you better than they would have done coming straight out of the sheds. How many of time?
You've got about just 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. So not really time for the video anyway.
You wanted that video?
Sorry?
You wanted the video?
I wanted the video, but it's not on there, and it would just be, yeah. So that's where the video is meant to be.
What are the plans for the future with the farm?
That's not looking either. Sorry?
What are the plans for the future with the farm?
The future of the farm? Well, we're kind of in it, really. as I say, we're around about 60 animals at this point. We've never really been about running around and rescuing as many animals as we can. Not that it's an easy thing, because we specifically don't take animals, we never pay industry for animals, because we want our sponsors to know that when they donate money to us, that's never going to the hands of industry. So we always find other more creative ways to get them out of the places that they are. That can be difficult and that's limiting. But more importantly, the 100 or so animals that we can rescue is irrelevant compared to the benefit of an organisational change in terms of the way that humans in general think about animal products. So this is why our big focus is on education. So when I say we're sort of in it, you know, one of our big objectives was to get me out and start talking about this stuff, and clearly we're doing that. So that's really great. In the near term, we probably like some more fences as well, because we have goats who love going and visiting the village from time to time. But really, we're sort of in it and we're doing it, and we're just very, very happy that we have the community on board and the support that we get, both from the guys here, from you, and from the general Queensland community in general. It's just wonderful. Thank you very much.
I hope a lot of you know there's a lot of ways we can help animals, we can help other people, and we can help the environment. Lee, did you want to get yours? And these are also some great reasons to be vegan. And like I said before, I've been vegan for 20 years in January, and I became vegan originally due to animals and animal rights, and I don't believe that I should be consuming another person, another being just for my own reasons, or just because I think they taste nice. And there's many things you can learn all the time, like I said before. So about 15 years into my vegan journey, I found out a bit more about money and what money can do. And I found out about this when some guy from the UK sent me an email and said, hey, look at what I'm doing, do you want to meet up? And I said, yeah, next time you're in Brisbane, come along, we'll hang out. And I met Lee and his wife Sue, and that was about 5 years ago, wasn't it? Almost 6. And I've been doing the social media and the marketing and content creation for Cruelty Free Super since then. And it started out as an idea that had come from the UK, and Lee will go into more of this in more detail next. And it was something really new for Australia 5 years ago, well established now. And I didn't know that my money could go to so many bad things I disagree with. So if you think about, if you're like me, if you're a vegan or activist or worry about social justice issues, you're very conscious of what's in a product or what's not in a product. So you look at, you know, the back of ingredients, you support particular companies or you don't support particular companies because of their ethics. And I found out through Lee and through Cruelty Free Super that a large majority of the money that most people ever have is their superannuation. And a lot of that money is going to things that we disagree with. So a good thing, I do a lot of stalls for Cruelty Free Super interstate, and a lot of people do go to places and speak out against a particular place, a particular company, and they don't even realise that probably their superannuation and the biggest amount of money they have is actually going to these sort of companies that they're protesting against, or they're trying to not put their money towards in day-to-day life. And when I found that out, 15 years after being vegan, it just made me go, okay, why didn't I know about that? And how many other people do not know about it either? So that's sort of where Cruelty Free Super started originally, and that's sort of where I got involved. And I just wanted to give a bit of background, because Lee's been working in this industry for over 20 years. And he decided that he wanted to put on this event, or these events in Brisbane, Melbourne and Sydney, because he wanted people to know where their money is being invested and what sort of things it's being invested in. Because like I said, so many people have no idea. And he wanted people to know most super funds are going towards animal exploitation. He wanted a forum where he could speak directly to people. So we do that a bit on social media, and have a look at our videos on our YouTube channel if you haven't seen them. He addresses particular questions. But he wanted to find out what you think, what questions you want to know, and to be able to have that one-on-one sort of interaction. He wanted to explain the way the money system works and a way of trying to get everyone to join together to make some changes. He doesn't believe that most people want their money to exploit animals, in particular if you're vegan or vegetarian, but unless they're aware of these things and what's going on, and more importantly, unless they take action to stop it, then a vegan lifestyle really is not vegan. So Leigh, he established the first vegan investment fund in the UK in 1992. So he knows what he's doing, been doing it for a while. He pioneered the concept that animal welfare issues were just as important as human rights and the environment. In 2010, he launched Cruelty-Free Super in Australia, building on the success of the UK funds. Leigh has been an ethical financial planner in the UK for 27 years, and in 2011, he was awarded an OBE for services to ethical business and finance. Please welcome Leigh.
Thank you very much, Chantelle. I'm going to try and make this as little boring as I can. Because I'm the sort of the trend spotter of the financial services world, because I love this. I could talk about superannuation for years. I can start on your first day of work, and I can still keep going by the time you retire. Because it's great. But I'm going to try not to bore you. Try. As leigh-chantelle said, in the UK I have a financial planning business that's Ethical Investors, 27 years old, and it was because I was dealing with advising people who had my values, so very much in the animal welfare, animal rights movement, and the ethical investment industry in the UK at that time, I started in '89, didn't consider animal welfare issues to be an ethical issue. So you had human rights, actually didn't even have human rights then. Human rights was basically South Africa and Chile. So you avoided the Pinochet regime in Chile, and you avoided apartheid in South Africa. That was human rights, and that's morphed into obviously much bigger now. So you had humanist issues, you had the moral issues, which were porn and alcohol, gambling, tobacco. And environment was all about the rainforests back in '89. Climate change was still to come into the mainstream. But animal welfare issues weren't ethical at all. And I thought that was wrong, so I convinced a few investment companies to launch the first vegan funds. And because I was young and naive, I told them how to do it, I told them where to market, gave them everything, and just said, go on then, have the product. And they've got, in dollar terms, probably $4 to $5 billion invested in vegan funds. I gave them the idea. Though I feel good about it, but not financially good about it. They're doing really well out of it, and I have to keep reminding them. I just keep saying thank you, and nothing else comes of it. So, the other business, Ethical Screening, that's an ethical research company, and that was really founded off the back of even the ethical research companies that were there providing support to ethical investment funds weren't researching animal welfare issues. So instead of getting them to try and research animal welfare issues, I set up an ethical research company where the first fully levelled animal welfare research sat alongside fully levelled human rights research and environmental research. And all of that led to, I'm not sure it's one of my best ideas, but anyway, developing a business on the other end of the planet, because I saw there was a gap in the market. I went to see lots of product providers in Australia to try and convince them, and they all told me it couldn't be done. I found it very difficult to walk away from someone who says you can't do that. So I did it. There we go. So what I'm going to try to talk about is how your money links in with a vegan lifestyle. So the first instance to look at is we're going to do a little bit of shopping. So here we have, I believe you have a strange word for these things in Australia, snags or something. Is that right? I've heard people refer to them. Sausages is the proper word. Well, the Europeans have a different view on that. But anyway, they are sausages. And so are they. And together, one would assume that the two are very similar. But actually, if you look at the ingredients, one set of ingredients are something that I'm very comfortable with, and I'm assuming that the other set of ingredients are the sort of things that people are not necessarily interested in. So when you go shopping, you're looking for the ingredients before you buy the product. That's fairly standard. Is there anybody that doesn't actually check the ingredients of things when you go shopping? No, right. So it's a fairly normal process to go through. It should also be a normal process when it comes to choosing your super. So here's all the sausages. They're all the same. One's much the same as another, except you might prefer green in one logo. There's a lot of blue, isn't there? So there's probably some psychology behind that. Blue and money and softer, which makes everybody else. It's not my fault. But the ingredients when you go shopping are what's interesting. So this was 5 minutes in the airport lounge in Brunei on the way here on Monday. And that's all it took me to find the ingredients of the super funds that were listed on the previous slide. So there's your product, there's your ingredients. So if you have any relationship with any of these products, then you have a direct relationship with those ingredients. That is the link that I'm trying to get people to understand. So I didn't just pick some really nasty companies and put them on the list and go, yeah, there's probably a connection somewhere. I went through the top 10, sometimes top 20 holdings of many of the super funds which are available on the websites and pulled out those names. So things like this is a bit of a giveaway. And obviously a lot of the others, a lot of animal testing. And I always find it interesting that I know quite a few people that won't go anywhere near the company at the top on the right-hand box, and yet hand over their money every month and say to the company, there you go. No, it's not quite as simple as you actually handing the money over. It goes through rather a convoluted route, but the point is there is a connection. And I want more people to understand that connection. So the link is an incredibly important thing to understand. And in fact, it's really important, so I have to underline it. So the investment process and understanding how the relationship exists is that if you own shares in a company, you are the owner of that company. So if you physically go and buy shares in a company, you may own 0.0001% of the business, but you are an owner of that business. Now, the directors of that company, the ones that often people get their fingers out and go, those directors of that company, how could they run that company in that way? How could they allow that company to exploit people, planet, all the animals every day of the week? Well, the point is, the directors of the company are custodians of the business on behalf of the owners. They don't own it. They may have a shareholding in it. But often people make the false assumption that the directors of the business own the company. And actually they're not, they're the custodians. The owners of the business are the shareholders. So, when the directors of a business expand their live exports, or they increase their animal testing or more battery cages, they're doing it for the owners. And they're doing it for you with your agreement. And the reason they're doing it with your agreement is because the boardroom, the table in the boardroom or the head office of any of those companies is not littered with copies of emails or letters from the owners of the business saying, I really don't think you should be in factory farming, I really don't think you should be doing animal testing. So until the directors, who are custodians, receive lots of letters from the owners to say, you shouldn't be doing what you're doing, the only things the directors can do is to do what they're doing. Because if people didn't like what they were doing, they would tell them. Nobody tells them, therefore they keep going. So if you're an owner of the business, your silence is basically endorsing the process. Now, obviously, cruelty-free super is primarily aimed at raising awareness of animal welfare issues in the financial community. But to me, when I use the term cruelty-free, it covers people, planet, and animals. The three things are interlinked, and if one gets damaged, there's an impact on the other two. And so therefore, a broad cruelty-free policy will also cover those areas. Unless it covers those areas, it means we won't invest money in those areas. And the list is quite extensive. There's a huge amount of research that goes on, but I just wanted to pick up. So any of these areas are areas where obviously you've got things like live exporting is a vegan issue. It's not solely a vegan issue, but it's an issue that excites vegans. But you can have someone who could be passionately against the use of child labour and actually be an owner of a business that uses child labour. To go back to what I said before, the boardroom table is not full of letters from the owners saying, please don't use children in the manufacturing process, please don't use children when you're making the t-shirts. So therefore, if the directors believe it's cheaper to manufacture t-shirts using children, and none of the owners are saying to them, please don't do that, the only thing they can do is to find a cheaper and cheaper way of producing the t-shirts. If that involves using more children, then use more children. Because if the owners didn't like it, they'd say so, wouldn't they? So, what I would like people to think about is make sure that your money is invested in line with your values. Because if you look at the investment management process, when you hand money over to a super fund, the decision about what shares to buy are decisions made by an investment manager. They will have a brief to maximise profits. And without lots of letters coming in saying, don't invest my money here and please don't invest my super there, they will invest anywhere. And one of the most perverse things I have found over the years amongst investment managers, well, there's fairly perverse things, but that's different, that's weekends. There was a guy actually, who was a fund manager, that used to go to court when he was being prosecuted for bad management, and he used to drag up. But we're not talking about that, we're talking about other perverse things, which more of an attitude actually. The number of times I've heard a fund manager say, I am buying shares in companies whose activities I find offensive. I would never put my money in those companies. But I'm putting the money that I'm responsible for into those companies, because not a single person that handed over their money to put it into a managed fund or a super fund, but one of those people clearly feels the same way as I do. And I don't have a mandate to apply my values as a fund manager on their money. I can only apply their values. As they've not given me any steering about the things I shouldn't do, then I can only assume they have no values, and therefore they will buy shares in companies they find offensive on behalf of other people that they've never met, because those people have never told them not to. Does that make sense? I know what I meant. That makes sense, yeah? Good. That's it. Hopefully there'll be lots of questions, but I could go on forever, so I'm being really good. Have I got 2 minutes? I'll take a question.
What's next?
It's next. All right, I won't take the question.
What about
banks? I'll talk about banks. Banks, is a good one. Right. Lots of people, for some bizarre reason, find banks to be a bit of a pariah at the moment. So we all face bankers, those banks, the financial crisis caused by the banks. There's a lot of truth in that. But if you take what I was saying about investment managers, you can also look at that from a bank perspective. So be brave and put your hand up if you have ever walked into your bank, opened a bank account, handed over a piece of paper and said, these are all the things I don't want you to do with my money. Come on. You must be somebody. Okay. In that case then, why is it the bank's problem if they invest your money in American dodgy housing loans, or they provide a loan to a factory farm, or a vivisector decides to build a new laboratory and they borrow money from the bank? Why is it the bank's problem for lending that money when not a single person ever opened a bank account and said, here's all the things I don't want you to finance with my money? The bank's not lending their money, the bank's lending your money. So if you don't tell the bank what you don't want them to do with it, you can't criticise them when they do the things they want to do with it. And I hate banks as much, so please don't think I'm supporting banks. In principle, they provide a good service. What they need is more ethical steerage. They need grassroots reaction. And that's happening with the fossil-free movement. There's lots of people closing bank accounts because of banks' association with lending to coal mines and that sort of thing. But how many vegans have closed a bank account because of bank lending to a factory farm? There won't be many. And actually the whole process is slightly convoluted anyway, because at the moment there isn't a bank in Australia that would be able to meet a vegan criteria. But I'm working with Animals Australia to get one. I noticed actually on George Street there's a branch. So I'm not going to tell you which one it was, so you'll have to wonder if I can guess. Or maybe I might take that in Q&A, so I'll finish on there.
Thank you, Lee.